Germans who truly understand what happened in history are still ashamed. This is a profound statement from a German professor who preferred not to be identified when commenting on the Third Reich, the dark period between 1933 and 1945. During these devastating years, Adolf Hitler's totalitarian National Socialist government rose to power in Germany, orchestrating the systematic murder of millions of Jews in the Holocaust, a horrific crime against humanity that unfolded during World War II. German historian Daniel Blattmann sheds light on this complex topic, noting that from an early age, education in East German schools was rigorously anti-fascist, fostering a critical perspective on the past. By 1968, the sensitive subject of Nazism began to be openly discussed in schools across the entire reunified country, marking a significant shift in national discourse. However, according to the anonymous professor, the full horrifying perception of the immense evil caused by Nazism only came much later for a significant portion of Germans. This was especially true for those who had initially been swept up or affected by the pervasive mass ideology that defined Hitler's regime, a period characterized by intense propaganda and fervent nationalism. The professor vividly recounts hearing stories from his parents about their childhood experiences during the Third Reich, including their recollections of the dictator's visits to their ancestral town. According to these chilling accounts, there was often an atmosphere of palpable euphoria and fervent excitement whenever Hitler made an appearance, underscoring how his charismatic presence was truly a mass phenomenon that captivated many. Despite the topic being exceptionally delicate and laden with hostile memories for countless individuals worldwide, reports on World War II indicate that German students typically begin learning about the devastating impacts of Hitlerism around 13 to 15 years of age. The educational approach is comprehensive. Introductory lessons are not solely based on textbooks and historical documents, but are powerfully supplemented by engaging with cinematic works. Films like The Diary of Anne Frank from 1959, which offers a poignant personal perspective, and The Boy in the Striped Pajamas from 2008, which explores the Holocaust through innocent eyes, serve as vital tools for understanding. Beyond the classroom, students participate in mandatory visits to various museums and memorials dedicated to the victims of Nazism, as well as somber trips to surviving synagogues and Jewish cemeteries. These direct experiences are designed to foster a profound personal connection to the historical atrocities. 70 years after the horrific end of Nazism, Germany continues to grapple with a deep-seated stigma. The shadow of the Holocaust still looms large, influencing how Germany is perceived internationally. Peter Hoffmann, spokesperson for the Haus der Geschichte der Bundesrepublik Deutschland, Museum, House of History of the Federal Republic of Germany, located in Bonn, internationally recognized as Germany's UN city, affirms that while most people today do not bear personal culpability for the Nazi crimes, there is a pervasive and undeniable feeling of collective responsibility. This sense of shared burden is not about guilt for actions personally committed, but rather a profound recognition of the historical legacy. According to Hoffmann, the numerous historical monuments and memorials scattered across the country play a crucial role. Their primary function is to actively contribute to keeping the memory of Nazism and World War II alive and vivid in the national consciousness. This ongoing remembrance is deemed essential to ensure that the atrocities that occurred in the past are never forgotten and, crucially, never repeated. Beyond these prominent museums and memorials, a more intimate and widespread form of remembrance can be found throughout Germany. Small, square brass plaques embedded in the ground in front of houses where Jewish families once lived. These poignant memorials, known as Stolperstein, stumbling blocks, bear the names and surnames of individuals, along with the grim dates of their deportation and the concentration camp where they were brutally murdered. A young German anthropology student provided a powerful testimony, highlighting the unique association of tourism in her country with its complex world history. Having graduated in Latin American Studies with a focus on anthropology, the student felt a deep personal drive to understand what precisely happened to her own family during the Nazi era. In 2014, she embarked on a journey to the very town where her grandmother had lived with her family during that period. This town was then part of Czechoslovakia, but had historically belonged to Germany. There, her great-aunt vividly recounted the chilling day when the entire town eagerly awaited the moment Hitler's car would pass by. According to the student's observations, there is still a discernible sense of nationalist pride, almost a strange reverence, in the way some Germans, particularly older generations, recount this tortuous period of world history. The young German woman admitted that it was profoundly difficult for her to grasp that, at that time, some people, including her own great-aunt, genuinely believed they were living a good life under the regime. According to the anonymous German history professor, nationalist pride remains one of the most deeply problematized and debated issues in Germany today. The nation actively grapples with its historical identity. Recently, the German embassy even released a video designed to explain how this challenging historiography is approached among Germans, striving for transparency and public education. The embassy's video details that German children, typically between the ages of 13 and 15, receive mandatory classroom instruction on the significant risks and immense violence instigated by Nazism. It underscores that, from a very young age, students are continuously exposed to the harsh realities and enduring memories of the Third Reich period simply by walking through the streets of German cities, where monuments and memorials serve as constant reminders. Learning about the Holocaust is compulsory in all German schools, while Germany's 16 federal states maintain autonomy over their specific school curricula, leading to variations in the depth and extent of teaching this historical period across regions. The core objective remains consistent. In Germany, the Holocaust is not merely presented as a collection of historical facts from a bygone era. Instead, it is understood as a profound reflection of how German society continues, even today, to actively seek means to fully comprehend and, crucially, to never forget its past, especially its deeply intertwined and often painful relationship with the Jewish people. According to 19-year-old German student Revis, her initial significant encounter with a truly informative and impactful approach to the topic of the Holocaust occurred when she was in the 5th or 6th grade of elementary school. This pivotal moment came when she watched a documentary about World War II in class. She recounts that she and her friends were profoundly affected by the gravity of the subject matter and were deeply disturbed by the stark images depicting the unspeakable tragedy committed against the Jews in the concentration camps. Two other young Berliners, Willi and Franz, also provided compelling testimonies, emphasizing the critical importance of open debate and rigorous critical reflection in history classes and throughout their schooling. Willi and Franz were both 15 years old and in 9th grade when they received their first formal lessons about the Holocaust. Their dedicated history teachers introduced the topic in the classroom with great seriousness and subsequently organized mandatory excursions to memorials. Willi, who attended a public school, visited the Sachsenhausen concentration camp, located just outside Berlin, with his class. Franz, studying at a private school, undertook a poignant trip to Auschwitz in Poland. According to 17-year-old Willi, it is simply impossible to truly comprehend the dimension of the Holocaust without ever having been to a concentration camp. Franz, now 18, echoed his classmate's sentiment, sharing another powerful experience that left an indelible mark on him, a lecture delivered by a Holocaust survivor. According to Franz, activities such as these, particularly listening to direct testimonies, are incredibly important because mere black and white images are not sufficient to fully understand what happened. These two young men, are active members of the Berlin Student Committee, which fiercely advocates for the implementation of mandatory government-funded visits to concentration camps as a standard component of the school curriculum. Currently, this is not universally enshrined in the country's public policies, making their advocacy vital. The testimony of these young individuals serves as a crucial warning about a fragile sociocultural period. They emphasize that their generation, and indeed all living generations in the current global climate, must constantly remember what happened and how it happened. This relentless remembrance is essential to ensure that horrific events like the Holocaust ever recur. On International Holocaust Remembrance Day, celebrated annually on January 27th, also designated as the International Day of Commemoration in memory of the victims of the Holocaust, German citizens, along with people worldwide, solemnly recall the episode that profoundly marked world history as the greatest crime of xenophobia in recent centuries. This significant date was established by the United Nations General Assembly in 2005, coinciding with the 60th anniversary of the defeat of the Nazi regime and the liberation of the concentration camps. According to Samuel, a venerable Holocaust survivor, international lawyer, and honorary ambassador of the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, he and his fellow concentration camp survivors are the very last living witnesses of the Holocaust. Tragically, they are gradually disappearing as time takes its toll on each individual. Samuel poignantly emphasizes that, very soon, the harrowing history of the extreme violence of World War II will be told with the impersonal, academic voice of historians and novelists, devoid of direct testimony. Even more chillingly, it will also be confronted by the malevolent voices of rising falsifiers and deniers. The survivor stresses that this perilous phase has already begun, and that the United Nations International Day of Commemoration for the Victims of the Holocaust serves as a vital, indispensable link for transmitting the incredible, harrowing legacy of survival of his fellow beings, whether Jewish or not. Recently, UNESCO's Memory of the World Register published compelling research focusing on Germany's so-called Generation Z. This significant survey explored the perceptions of young people aged 16 to 25 regarding the National Socialist regime that was prevalent under Hitler's government. The project, tellingly titled Arolsen Archives, constitutes the world's largest and most comprehensive archive on the victims and survivors of National Socialism. This invaluable program meticulously preserves and makes readily available online original documents concerning concentration camp prisoners, detailed information about deportations, harrowing records of forced labor, and deeply moving testimonies from survivors themselves. The poignant results of the research indicate a fascinating trend. Generation Z exhibits a greater interest in the topic than the preceding generation of their parents, 75% interest compared to 66%, for example. Crucially, this new generation associates involvement with the theme of the Holocaust with other pressing current problems, such as combating racism and discrimination, demonstrating a profound critical reflection on the significant risks and insidious dangers that modern democracies may face today. According to Florian Azoulay, the project director, young people demonstrate a remarkable openness, genuine curiosity, and invaluable freedom of thought in approaching this difficult history. The multicultural ethos of these new generations stands in stark contrast to the oppressive culture of dominance that characterized the Nazi era. Many young people from Generation Z perceive the Hitler era not just as a historical event, but as something abstract, complex, distant, and indeed absurdly cruel.